I'm Conor, podcaster, dreamweaver, Ben 10 enthusiast, plus editor. You're about to enter the world of my YouTube space. You're about to enter my TV retrospective. Tonight I'll be joined by two special guests.
Oh, I don't know if that was a cue
And
to
then the
introduce
rest of it is
myself or
just
not.
pure silence.
Yeah, they didn't want to come back. It's okay. I'll do it myself. Garth Marenghi's Darkplace is pretty good, actually. You know? So, okay. I am joined today by two special guests.
I'm Damon.
And I'm Charlie.
I always forget your name is Damon and not Damo, because I just call you Damo.
Yeah.
And it always comes to me as a shock.
There's an N at the end of that name? What the
What do
fuck?
you mean?
What the heck?
For
Yeah.
this 2021 Halloween special, we have decided to tackle Garth Marenghi's Darkplace. Now, I'm going to assume that the majority of people listening do not know what Garth Marenghi's Darkplace is.
Yeah, it's like... the only person I've ever met that has known about it has been you two and then my lecturer. Like, nobody else. Also my dad, obviously, because he showed it to me.
Well, I think, damn it, I was the one who explained to you what Darkplace was, right?
I think you told me about it like months and months
Yeah.
back, and I just never got around to watching it. And then I watched it last night as of the date of recording this.
Nope, it's the
Oh,
date it
wow.
aired. It was last night. You should keep that in mind. It was the
On
29th of
Halloween
October.
Eve.
I released
Yeah.
this the day before.
Yes.
Yeah, I released this the day before Halloween, so that way people can actually watch it on Halloween if they so choose.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
that's
So
the annoying
choose.
thing with American content is when they release it, going, "Oh, it's a Halloween special." I'm like, it's November 1st.
It's like it's already
idiot.
been done, bestie.
Yeah.
It's Christmas now.
You've ruined it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No,
Get
so
fucking Halloween out of my Christmas, jeez.
Garth Marenghi's Darkplace, if you don't know, is a TV show around 2004, and the base premise is, it's a. How do I explain Darkplace? Because it's a very complicated one to explain.
Well,
It's about a really stuck-up author, essentially, like a really narcissistic horror author, basically, is the best way
Stephen
that I would
King,
describe
basically.
A dollar store
Yeah.
Stephen King made a show in the 80s called Darkplace, and as he describes it, Channel 4 were too much of a coward to air it, so now that TV's gotten bad in the year of 2004, they've decided to finally release Garth Marenghi's Darkplace with commentary, with interviews cut in between bits of the show with the actors in quotation marks,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is it's a show within a show.
It's like it's a spoof of like a medical horror. but
80s medical horror.
It's also a spoof of the fact that it exists, right? Garth Marenghi is played by someone, and then he plays someone within the show that didn't actually exist.
He plays Dr. Rick Douglas.
Yeah, Rick Douglas. And then obviously Richard Ayoade plays Dean Lerner, who plays Thornton Reed in Darkplace.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the basis of the show is, and you would get a little introduction of Garth Marenghi introducing the show and introducing the episode, and then you'd get the intro to the actual show, you'd get clips of the show, and cut in between that would be like clips and interviews. For example, I'll read out one from the first episode, which is one of my favorite quotes. And it's just to show how stuck up, like how dollar store and full of himself Garth Marenghi is. So this is one of my favorite quotes that I've always remembered. I'm one of the few people who's written more books than they've read.
I fucking love that
Yeah,
line
that's
so
so
much.
funny.
It is such a good line and a very good intro. It's a very good character line.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
very good intro.
It really shows the type of character. But yes, this is the premise of Darkplace. It's all up on YouTube because they do not care about the copyright because it's very hard to get. There
Yeah.
is DVDs, but like Clone High, good luck.
Yeah, so rare. My dad used to have a DVD copy, and that's what I watched it originally. And then I left it out, and my dog chewed it up, and so I just hid it for years because I was too ashamed. And then one day he found it, and he was like, "What the fuck happened to this?" And I was like, "My dog chewed it up. Don't be mad at me. It happened literally 5 years ago." Yeah,
That is
they're rare as
tragic.
chicken's teeth. Plus, they're all region locked.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it's really a collector's item because you can just get it online.
Yeah, you can buy it, and it is cheaper than Clone High, but it's still rare and hard to get. Still
Yeah.
difficult, but no. Yeah, this is a fun TV retrospective because I got two people who have never been on a TV retrospective or anything on my channel at all.
Yeah, no.
Ooh.
Oh, no,
I've drawn
technically-
things for your channel, and that's about it.
You were
Yeah.
technically in a stream highlights I did earlier.
I
this
technically
year.
was.
That's
Technically.
true. Ah, well then it's
By
not
all
a...
technicality, I was.
Yes. But, okay. I think we should actually... We're about 8 minutes into recording. I think we should actually get started on the show. So,
Is this like do we do episode by episode?
We do episode by episode because we tend to have some notes, things, and this is a 6-episode series. It's quick, easy to watch. I watch it every Halloween for I think the past 3 Halloweens. I think
wow.
2 to 3 Halloweens. Yeah. I've done it for a couple of years now, since I found it off of YouTube. But yeah,
I haven't rewatched it in a really long time. I think Halloween's a good time for it because I like horror, but I'm not too much. I can get kind of squeamish, so I love
Oh yeah.
this is very like dumb sci-fi. Well, not even sci-fi, but just that terrible 80s makeup, which is
Yeah.
hilarious, but it also scratches that like spooky horror kind of itch, I guess.
yeah, it has a really good vibe to the show. That really fits like that weird Halloween type. Like it's not like, oh, it's a spooky horror. It's like that weird like spooky Halloween feeling.
It's like discount
Yeah.
haunted house horror, you know?
Yeah, it's a really good vibe, especially for Halloween, and I do 100% recommend watching it because we are going to spoil the show in its entirety.
Oh, yeah.
I
Spoilers.
recommend watching it,
Put the spoiler alert
especially if you're into filmmaking and stuff like that, where you just know, if you know kind of the basics of how to make stuff, and it's a very fun watch to see how badly
Yeah.
they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
will
that's-
say that, like, sorry.
Oh, no,
I will
sorry,
say that,
go
like, yeah, like, having been gone to film school before, I've been able to notice, like, a lot more details about it than if I hadn't gone
Yeah.
to film school previously.
I mean, the thing that makes it such a good spoof is they understand the language of film, and they also understand the amateur mistakes you get, like, not just the shitty deliveries, but, like, the way that they do a jump cut when the actor does, like, a shit
The
take.
jump cuts.
Or, like, the first episode, they're in a graveyard, and one of the fucking tombstones is swaying in the wind.
I didn't even
Oh, it's
notice
so
that.
funny.
That's
I
Yeah.
noticed that.
It's just like
Oh.
it's gone because it's like fucking foam, and like because they understand the language of film, they're able to parody it properly. I think that's where
Yeah.
most good parodies come from. You know,
That's how like you have
like-
to understand the rules to make the parody. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I love that the jump cuts you mentioned specifically. I noticed that they almost exclusively happen to Dean, which is like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
publisher character, which implies either they were too lazy to redo his shoots or he was too stubborn to redo his lines.
Yeah, or the fact that they got like so many takes and he was just awful in all of them. And that
Yeah.
was just the
My
best one.
because the character of Dean Lerner. So Dean Lerner he's the publisher of Garth Marenghi's books, and he plays Thornton Reed in the show, and this is the first time he's ever acted. And there's some really
Yeah.
funny comments throughout the show about his acting and how it works. And my theory is because you can watch it and you can see the behind the scenes of like the fake show, and it's great. It's really well done because of that. But you see stuff like the editing of the stuff is like all the takes were bad, and the editors, like, I think the editors are the only 2 good people on set. Or, like, they weren't even on set, they're just looking at it and like, shit. Like, they
Like, how the hell do I work with this?
yes, like, you have, like, one bad editor and one good editor, so, like, so they're, like, sitting there being like, these are all bad takes, how do we make this a good take? So, like, for example, in the first episode, it's like, a little old lady just cracked a nut, and if she croaks, my ass is grass. And there's a cut like this is the first line, and it's very well done set up because it's just set up with that. This is my first acting role. It's the first time I've ever acted, and you see that scene, and you're like, oh, of course it's your first time ever acting. But the bit later on where he's talking about something, and you see him look at the camera, but just as he looks at the camber, it cuts away.
It cuts, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the way that he just like looks at the camera. There's another bit in that episode where he's holding he comes out holding a bloody shovel.
Oh my
and
god!
then
Yeah, I know
it
what you're
cuts and he's holding the cup, and then it cuts back and he's holding the shovel again.
Mid sentence as well. It's
Mid-sentence.
beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so funny.
No, it's very good.
And it cuts back to him holding the cup just so he can crush the cup.
I love the way the editing always holds on a little bit too long.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
It's always an extra second that isn't supposed to be there, or like a second too early. It's so funny.
Yeah. So okay. So the intros to every episode is Garth Marenghi reading a line from one of his books, to which the famous bit from the first episode is blood, 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 and it's just to emphasize how bad he is at writing. And it's very good. It's very good, and he introduces the program and what Darkplace is and what the episodes are, and that you learn interesting things from those bits, and it's really good. I also just want to say the intro to Garth Marenghi's Darkplace, which is the parody bit at the beginning of this one, which is I'm Garth Marenghi, author, dreamweaver, plus actor. You are about to enter the world of my imagination. You are entering my dark place. I love that intro so much. I just watch the intro by itself every once in a while.
It's so good.
It is the best thing.
It captures it. Again, we're going to be saying this so much, but it captures that feeling of a shitty, low-budget show from the 80s so well. Like, the explosions. I love the bit where he has a baby and he's running away from the caravan exploding. You never see it in the show.
Just a random ambulance.
Just a random explosion.
I have a fun behind-the-scenes fact about that one. So while also, I did find on YouTube also, there is an audio commentary, not of, like, the actual people who made the show, but of Garth, Dean, and I'm like, and I tried to watch it, I'm like, I just can't. This is too much, because it's another layer of them talking over the top, and I'm like, no, I can't. It goes a bit, it's just too much. I would love to see, I'm pretty sure there is an audio commentary of the actual people who made the show talking about the show, but
I'd love to see
there
that.
is, just on YouTube, a 2-hour-long audio commentary of Garth, Dean, and the other actor who plays
Todd Rivers.
Yeah, Todd Rivers.
Mm.
They do an audio commentary, and it's just silence going, yeah, this is the intro. Yeah, we edited this in afterwards to explain what Darkplace is, and I'm like, oh my god.
I want to watch that. I don't know that. I want to watch that so much.
I couldn't get through like
Same.
5 minutes. It's good, but I'm just like, it's funny, but I just want to live behind the scenes. No, but yeah, like that explosion was, it's so great because it's so. You could imagine Garth Marenghi being like, right, so we're gonna have an explosion of like an ambulance, and I'm gonna run in protecting a baby.
Yeah. The fucking way that like every few episodes he writes in his character, like going and like helping a little kid, and the kid's like,
Yeah.
You're overworked. Oh, it's so funny.
You should be paid a hero's
like, you're a
wage.
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the first episode.
No, and that happens in the first episode too, and I do want to actually try and get back to the first episode, because I knew this would be, well, there's only 6 episodes in the show, we're going to go for a while, and we've already really hit 20 minutes, so we haven't even really tackled the first episode. Sorry, Adams and me, this is going to be a pain.
I would like to mention that since we're still only on like the intro part of the episode, one of my favorite gags from the whole series is that there's this thing that happens after every intro where it's a shot of the hospital, of Darkplace Hospital, and the camera has to zoom in on a specific window.
Yeah.
But it does it so terribly.
Yeah.
It starts zooming in, and then the cameraman realizes, oh wait, we have to go this way.
It'll change
But
the window.
but what's
it's
even
in.
better, it gets progressively worse as the series goes on. It's like, it goes one way, it's like, whoa, we're all the way over this way now.
Yeah, that bit's so funny.
It's very
Like,
good.
It's so good.
It's the most obvious, like figure, like model I've ever seen in my life.
Oh
Just
yeah.
makes it. It just adds on. There's just so many layers.
Also, the first episode's called Once Upon a Beginning, which is just...
The episode titles are so funny.
Yeah,
So good.
it's a very like the show is very awkward, and it's very good because of that awkward stuff. So like, I don't remember Liz, the character within a character, she.
Madeline,
Liz is her in Darkplace. She's walking awkwardly. A cat gets thrown at her for her to cat, and you see the hands of the person throwing the cat in.
You see the stagehand throwing it in.
And then at the end, Garth, he's like, I think that animals should never be hurt during the production. Which is why I feel so bad about that cat we killed.
Yeah!
Oh, it's so
And
funny.
then like she walks up and she goes to give her like very clear exposition, and like she's moving her hand from her hip to off her hip because she realized I'm not meant to do that just yet, and she puts it back on her hip.
Yeah.
And it's
just high praise to like the actual actors who did it, because they not only can they act like bad actors, they can then out of character act like regular people.
yeah, it's
Right.
genuinely amazing how they do it, especially Richard Iowati. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my god, he's a treasure.
He's so fun, and he never gets any better. He's always just so bad.
It's just the same stilted act
It's so
throughout
good.
the whole
Like,
thing.
I want to like save certain comments for later on, but there's like a comment in the series where someone's like, is it I can never remember his name. The third guy,
Is it Todd Rivers?
Todd Rivers.
But he's the actor's. That's the actor's name. The guy actually plays. Yeah, I can't remember what the character name is.
Like his second character. That's Todd Rivers, right? Or is it the actor?
No, Todd. That's the actor is Matt Berry, and then
Okay.
within that you have
Todd Rivers.
and then
Yeah,
within
Todd,
that.
Todd Rivers makes a comment being like, yeah, he never could act with another actor, and I've never seen that before, or
Yeah.
since. I've never seen that before or since. It was very strange,
exactly.
but it actually turned out okay.
Yeah. I love because Todd is sort of like, he's not a good actor in the show, obviously, but he's sort of
Yeah.
like the best one, I guess.
Yeah,
Just by default.
because he's just an
just by
actual
default.
actor. Because the other
Yeah.
two are not. But
Yeah, I mean Madeline is.
yeah, Madeline is an actor,
So-
but she feels like this is like her first role.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. With Todd Rivers,
again,
feels like he's done a couple other low-budget Days of Our Lives type programs.
I mean Madeline
Yeah.
Wall feels so perfectly cast as like
The girl.
the girl in an 80s horror who's never been in anything before. Like, it feels so perfectly done. And obviously you have all the other actors who come on Channel 4 British comedies all the time. So you have a little bit of Noel Fielding. Julian Barrett plays the priest, and
Oh yeah.
you remember the chef from episode 2?
The chef.
Yes! Yeah,
The
Jim!
chef.
What was his name? Stephen Merchant. Oh, so fucking funny.
Goddamn son of a bitch.
Goddamn son of a bitch.
Yeah, no. I was one of the things from like, that actor I just know from a lot of other really good productions. It's good.
Yeah, like the actual cast they have are astounding actors, like amazing comedy actors.
Like,
And then they can
yeah.
act like real people, and then they act like shitty actors.
It's so good. And
a
also, like,
beautiful
and
level.
half the people who made this show just went on to do the IT Crowd, which is another really
Yeah.
good show.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really, it's just, I want to go, I don't want to actually, so the plot of this episode is, like,
Yes.
because they actually, so, like, Liz, she's new, she's new at the place, she gets, like, a vision, because she's, like, the psychic one of the group, she has, like mystic powers,
Yeah.
and then, like, she gets, like, after, a minute long of screaming with, Sanchez, that's the character's name.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
she collapses, Garth Marenghi has, like, his whole hospital visit with the kid, they go to meet up, and they have, like,
Yeah.
their introductory scene, to which they have they have an exchange which leads to one of my favorite lines, which is like the "Stop being sarcastic." Maybe if everyone who had ever been close to it died, you'd be sarcastic too.
You'd be sarcastic too.
Which is such, and the music changes completely, and it's so funny.
It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, Garth plays the perfect role that a self-absorbed author would write for himself.
The protagonist,
you know,
who was loved by all.
Yeah,
tragic backstory, but like, you know, heart of gold, and everyone loves him, and he's like good to kids.
He's trying to open the kiddie wing or the hospital. You know?
Yeah. It's so funny.
Another thing I do want to add for like the camera work is just the amount of headroom everyone has.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I can't stop.
That's especially in like episode 2.
Oh yeah, episode 2
with
really
the temp.
really well.
The temp.
Like one of my notes in here is like at like the beginning of episode 2. It's like I think it's like Garth says to Madeline, "Have you met the temp?" Or is it Madeline that says that? I don't know. One of them says that.
Liz says,
like,
"Have you met the temp?" So Dr. Rick.
Yes. Yes. So the note just says, "Have you met the temp?" Smile face. Because he's just got this innocent-looking smile and
yeah.
No,
cut off right at the chin.
It's really good. There's another line in here which I don't remember what the exact scene is, but it's the phrase Liz says, "I'm a big girl now. In a year's time, I'll be a woman."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which this show is so. How do I explain? Like how. Like it shows really how sexist Garth is, and it's so funny.
Absolutely. Like this show is so sexist, but like it's obviously making fun of the fact that all the movies in the 80s were so sexist. Like in the first episode, fucking she goes up and hugs Dean, and then he's like hugging her back, but he has her hand just falling on her ass.
I put that up at the very end of the episode. She gets like sad. She goes to hug Dean, but the thing, she goes to hug Thornton, but you could tell that Dean Lerner is just so sexist.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my god.
They do. Have you guys seen Man to Man with Dean Lerner?
I have not.
No.
Oh, you guys should watch it. It's a 6-series episode. And basically you have Dean Lerner, same character from Garth Marenghi, but he's hosting like a talk show, a late night talk show, and he has like different people come on every week, and one of them is Garth Marenghi. And they talk about the film, the series and stuff. But in that, it's like Dean Lerner is characterized as he owns a bunch of strip clubs and like pornographic magazines and shit like that. And every week, the guy who plays Garth Marenghi comes in. He plays a different character. It's like the same vibe, same exact vibe as Darkplace. It's so funny. Same thing. He has like some chick on, because they're like at a club or whatever, but on a set version of a club, and there's just like a chick there who doesn't do anything. She's just there for like eye candy, and he's like always remarking on it. It's so funny.
I also do want to point out that Garth Marenghi, this character, is like a character for like a comedy show, like as in like up on stage type comedy show, which was then brought over to television. And
oh yeah,
this is because
totally makes sense.
Originally it was just like a one-man show, similar like, and then it eventually turned into this, which is great.
Yeah, it's definitely a character show. I think definitely.
No, it's very well done. Like, and
what did you guys think of the first episode?
I just have so many notes on quotes, and the majority of this TV retrospective will just be quotes because it is very well done.
I decided I wasn't going to do notes because so many of them would just be quotes. I was like, you know what, we'll leave that. I can remember.
Yeah, that's fair. And like, I'm surprised I remembered a few of them, like the little old lady just cracked a nut, and if she croaks, my ass is grass.
And yeah, or the one he's like, my ass is grass and wonton's a lawnmower.
It's so funny. It's so good. No, but I quite like this first episode. I think it's a good setup because it's got the element of like, oh, there's a demonic presence. It's like, we opened up with like, me and my buddy, we opened up like a we opened up the gates of hell, and then and then when he was possessed, I closed the gates because his buddy's in trouble, and his buddy explodes when Garth walks into a room, and he's
like, I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, he's like,
and he's
just
like,
are you alright?
It's just a head. Yeah, like when he's like, are you alright? And then he's like, you're gonna kill me, Garth. You're gonna kill me, Rick. You gotta do it. It's like, no, I don't want to do it. No, and it gets slow-mo, and I'm like, no. It's like, it's like a shovel connects with like the clearly fake head as it just spins. And,
it's just a rubber head.
And with those like emotional scenes, it's the thing that's like, you can tell that Garth thought he was making something good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Garth thought the world of this. He really put in time and effort to me. It's like, this will be an emotional scene. And clearly didn't work, but you can see the effort put in.
I mean, what's the Dean's commentary? He's like, I don't know if Garth knew somebody exploded, if it was a pet or a family member, but it was a very emotional day on set. Garth didn't cry, he was strong for the crew, but I showed it to you. I'm not ashamed of that.
It's like the quote that Garth said in the interview. It's like, I've never exploded, but I know what it would be like. Don't ask me how, I just know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then immediately Sanchez walks into the room after like that's happened, and like the music's like sad. And he's just like, I'll get a mop.
Yeah.
Not even like solemnly, just like, I'll get a mop.
Another line that he has later on when like Thornton reads like chewing like basically just being like, what are you doing? Why'd you hit the guy? He was like, that's not like that's not proper doctor practice. It's like with Sanchez being like, am I holding a crock of shit?
It's just called saying crock of shit, and then there's a massive pause, and then Dean's like, oh, all right, settle down. The timing on the acting is there's so many moments where the timing is like, I love the bits when so like good. One of the characters is walking away from Thornton, but then they stop, and then there's a moment, and then he's like, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, those are my favorite.
He pauses to wait for the line to come in, and it's like 2 seconds late.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny.
It's very good. The other thing, is at the very end when they're gonna bury this character. The character comes like there's a line before that where it's like oh no, I have a lot more notes than I thought I did. Oh, whoops. I was like, that's the end of my notes for this episode. Nope, there's more quotes.
I have just a whole page of notes for
before
episode
I get
1.
to that one line, I love every scene. It's the same like camera angle of him driving a car, a very fake car that he's driving.
The fake car.
And I love like the line from this episode is like, I went for a drive to clear my head. Which is why I'm in a car.
Hence why I'm now in the car.
Which is why I'm now in the car.
Because he really just does not trust the audience at all to pick up on anything. Which we will explain in a later line. But
that's why one of the things I love about the show so much is that everything is so obvious. It's so plainly obvious. Because obviously in a real show they want to hint to the audience what's happening. But like it's so painful, like the episode, the apes.
We'll get to that one.
The ape episode.
Yeah, we'll get to that when that comes. But the same thing happens. It's like that's why I'm now in a car, or like.
But it's so like the line at like before like when the coffin's being lowered, it's like, do you buy any of this? I wouldn't say I'm buying it. I'm window shopping, and there's a half-price sale on Weird. That was that line. I did not remember that line at all, and I just was laughing so much. That was so funny.
Yeah. There's that bit in the episode where, mid conversation, Garth is like, "I need to take a shower," and then they resume the conversation immediately after he leaves the shower.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
There's also another one in this bit where it's like where in that scene where the 3 characters are walking down a hallway, 2 of them are talking and it sounds like they're in a hallway, and then Liz is just not at all. It's like, look, I'll help you guys, and it's God.
That's those little things that really add to it, like when it's clearly dubbed, just so clearly.
There's so many moments like that. It's so good.
It's like,
and especially when Todd is dubbing over himself, he gets so close to the mic as well.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just so loud out of nowhere.
No, do we have anything else to say in episode 1?
I would like to say that during the last scene where they're at the graveyard, where like the dude pops out of his grave just out of nowhere, the part where Garth is shooting at him, Dean is next to him just watching, but then in random moments it just cuts to him with a shotgun.
Yeah,
and it, like,
just shooting
it's
into
like
the air.
so obviously filmed later, as if Dean is like, I want to have a go at shooting. Like,
Yeah,
can I have a scene? And they just couldn't say no.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's where you get the fucking tombstone swaying in the wind as well. Like, that scene is so funny, and the way that, like, again, I think what really makes the show is all the little details. Like the mother jumps in front, and then Thornton's like, "No, that's the mother."
And this is all in slow-mo, but the speech is like, no, that's the mother.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's anything... Every time you watch it, you'll notice something else, I think. Which is why... It's one of those shows where you think you could never... Like, anyone could make this show, you would think, because it's cheap and shitty, and it's supposed to be cheap and shitty. But they still have so much attention to detail, right? Like, every single thing is shitty, right? They don't do anything right most of the time, and that's hard to do. That's extremely hard to do, you know.
Oh yeah.
You'll at least go, oh, that doesn't sound right. No, they just put it in. Every single aspect of it is terrible in that way that so many shows were, you know, in the 80s. That's what I want to put into the ring, as far as critical discussion is. I don't want to do too much of just saying things that I like about it, because there's so many stuff.
If we don't have much else to say on episode 1, we might as well go to episode 2, 36 minutes into recording.
Hell Hath Fury.
Yep.
Oh, it's
Maggots.
again.
Maggots. 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 I love that he looks down to read the next line and it's still maggots.
It's still maggots, yeah.
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah.
I like in this episode just like the blatant sexism.
Oh yeah.
But this is an
I
episode...
portended that by the year 2040, the world would see its first female mechanic, and who knows, she might even do a decent job.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is,
funny.
this episode is meant to be like, it's Garth Marenghi being like, okay, we should do an episode about sexism, because sexism is bad. But,
yeah, exactly.
But he doesn't quite understand exactly how to do it. So he gets a little bit there, but then he says lines that are just not working.
He's kind of close.
Like, I get what you're doing, but you've missed the mark by a lot.
Yeah, it's sort of just like he even at the end, even after he's supposed to have learned his lesson or whatever, he's like, I'll make sure to say that her hair looks nice or that she's lost weight, whichever one seems more plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode, after the whole, like, you know, maybe sexism isn't a good thing.
I mean, I don't even know if that is a theme of the episode. I would just say the theme is women are crazy. And
yeah, because the episode's basically like Madeline, her psychic
Liz.
powers are...
Madeline's the actor.
I'm saying Madeline.
yeah,
I'm saying that the name
Liz
of
is
the
the
actress.
character.
I cannot be bothered remembering this
I
many
remembered
names.
all of them.
I watched this yesterday.
And you should have taken notes.
Madeline's psychic powers have gone completely batshit.
Yeah.
Essentially, is what's happening, and she's just
Where's
like
this flippin'
using
chicken?
telekinesis to control a bunch of things in the hospital. That's essentially the plot.
Yeah.
So now they have a bunch of like inanimate objects on like strings, which are very obvious.
On strings.
Flying at
Yeah.
like the
The
character.
very visible strings.
Which-
An eagle-eyed viewer might notice the strings. A pedant might notice the strings. But if you're looking at your strings, you're not looking at the story. Which, you know, I think is so funny in the terms of, like, any other movie production. Because saying that is true. If you're looking at all the faults, then you're not looking at the story. But the show is all faults. It's nothing but faults. And the fact that, like, I think there's a specific shot when they're looking out the window.
Yeah.
Because some of the shots, the strings are, like, you can see them sometimes. But there's a shot when they're looking out the window. And it's so obvious. It's so, like every single string you can see, like broad daylight. You can't unsee him. Oh, It's so funny. You're gonna have to cut out every single time I say it's so funny, because I said too much. Like every detail it gets right, you know.
Also, just the stuff like Garth, like every time there's a phone call, they have to say bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
just
the
a
fucking
fun
way that
detail.
Thornton does phone calls.
That's so good.
Bye.
Yeah, he like picks up the phones. Hello, bye. That was Wonton. He said we need to get our ass down to the thing. Oh,
No, and
And apparently more objects are heading this way.
the way he like
Goodbye.
picks up the phone like mid like talking.
Yeah, like mid-sentence in there.
Yeah, like again, only a really good actor knows how to act that shitty, you know.
no, but even like stuff like was it like, oh no, I've been hit. Oh, goodbye.
Yeah, like
I've been shot in the leg.
if we spend like just literal days upon days of just remarking about every single funny moment in the show, because again, I like if I'm not we can't sell this any harder. I
No,
think
like this is just us now being like, how fun was this show? How
It's
good
like-
was
Yeah,
it?
pretty much.
Let's talk about it. You know, let's have some fun. Like, there's another line in it which I like from Dean, which is like, we had to add slow-mo in, and there's a lot of slow-mo on the show.
yeah.
Because we were running 8 minutes short on the episodes.
Yeah.
So we had to decide what scenes would be slow-mo. And
Yeah, anything without dialogue was considered for slow motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really funny to look at the entire show like that.
Yeah, because it runs throughout the whole show.
Especially because, like, the past 2 minutes before he says that, it's, like, almost exclusively unnecessary slow motion.
Yeah,
of just Garth running around the hospital.
Yeah, and the way he runs too, he's just running slowly.
Yeah. Not only is he running slowly, they've put it in slow motion.
It's a leisurely jog. Everyone
Yeah.
leisurely jogs in this show, and it's so good.
Yeah, oh, it's so funny. I mean, my other, like, favorite bit, or, like, recurring bits that they do in this episode is when they're fighting the objects, and, like, especially Garth right at the end, he's fighting the fire hydrant, and you can see he's just smacking it on himself.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It's
and
very
he's
good.
sitting on the floor, smacking it and yelling.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me chuckle every single time.
No, and like, there's another bit that's just funny, which is like the iron has come back for Sanchez to get him, and he pulls out a gun and he shoots the iron, and then the gun starts to turn around, and he throws the gun on the ground. He pulls out a second gun and he shoots the gun with the gun.
And then he runs away from the gun, the second gun.
Yeah, and it's very good.
Yeah, it's so there was a really small thing I noticed that I thought was very funny, is that he's Sanchez is like, oh, got hit by a cordless iron, and then you see the iron and it's a corded iron. It has a cord on it.
Oh, yeah. That's
yeah,
right.
and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, again, they didn't have to put that in, but it's just like an
They did
extra
not have
tiny
to.
little thing.
Yeah, it's really good. The only other note I really have about it is the way that they save the day is they knock out Liz and then they do a lobotomy.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
that bit's so
And
funny.
I was like, oh, God.
Thank you for the lobotomy.
And you're like, Jesus Christ.
And you would assume, because he says something about, like, they removed her psychic abilities, which is just not true. Like, every other episode, she's a psychic in it
Yep.
as well.
She's still psychic.
But it makes me laugh.
It's,
And then the fake laughing at the end, you know, like they do it every single fucking episode.
Every single episode.
no, it's very good.
I swear to God, that was like the 80s equivalent of having a dance number at the end of like every movie that
Yeah,
is
exactly.
now.
Yeah. Or the other bit that I like that happens, like I think it happens twice, is when Sanchez makes a pass on Liz, and then she says something like a sassy comeback, and then 2 seconds later he's like,
Hey!
"Hey."
Yeah, it's always very funny, that bit. I don't have much else to say on this episode. This is one with a least amount of notes, but it's just a fun one.
Yeah,
good
it's
episode.
just like all the episodes, like Garth, he always sets them up with like they have these big themes and stuff, and like it's talking about all these radical ideas, and it's just like none of them have any thematic consistency at all. It's just my favorite part when he's explaining them is the ape episode when he's like, no one's asked if the government continues to pay doctors peanuts, will they literally turn into monkeys?
And you're like,
Yes.
that's true. No one has asked.
No one
that,
has asked that.
But
No one
You know.
has. Well, one more thing I want to say about episode 2. One of the gags I really like that's recurring through every single episode of this is that the editing on like the background noise and the sound effects specifically, sometimes when they're like changing scenes or even just changing shots, it'll just cut out just completely out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
And it's so like absurdly noticeable. It's like, oh god.
Yeah. I think what I love about the show so much is that you can watch it and have no background in film, and you still notice everything shitty about it.
Yeah.
And then if you do know stuff about film, you notice even more shitty stuff that happens.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe it makes you think about other movies more, and think about like, they're better. At least you don't see the fucking cameraman in any of the shots.
at least Zack Snyder's Justice League actually had headroom that was good.
Yeah, the headroom. It's like every single fucking shot. Every shot. There's just always too much headroom.
I just can't
It's
get over it.
way
It's
too
great.
much.
It's and I'm like, is it something to do with the aspect ratio, or like was it cut? No, it always just looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 3, Skipper the Eye Child.
The Eye
That's
Child.
my favorite. That's my favorite episode. I think
It's so good.
it's so funny.
It has one of my favorite quotes in it. Other times I'd like to copy plots from dead authors whose work the copyright had lapsed.
I wrote down the full quote about that one. I was just about to read it out, which is like, I drew from the deep drafts of inspiration from the dike of my dreams. Other times I just copied the plots of dead authors whose work as copyright has lapsed. Bite me.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the bite me is so
And
good.
it's so funny.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite bits. I mean, my favorite bit is when he's like saying goodbye to Skipper, and then it bites him, and he just fucking throttles it. It's just so bloody.
Before we get to
It
that,
goes on for so
before
long.
we get to that, 'cause that's great. So
Yeah.
the base premise of this episode is that there's an alien creature. It was not an alien. It's
No,
like
it wasn't
it's
alien.
Well,
genetic,
no.
it's genetically.
It's a guy who was
created.
mutated.
The eye of a sex offender got like spliced in with with someone else.
Saying,
So now it's a giant eyeball with a giant erection.
Yeah.
oh my fucking god!
I think it's a shame that we have to pixel out an erection. I think it's a shame.
I mean, everyone's got one. I could have one right now.
I know.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's very,
I mean, I think this one has one of my favorite like interview bits because like they do the scene where like he's getting raped by this eye. Obviously acting, and then Garth is like, the actor who did that was not happy. And like the way they explain like the man in the eye suit was a man that he knew and up to that point trusted. Oh, it's like my favorite
and
like behind the
and
scenes
like
It's
bit.
so
definitely, like,
good.
I said, don't worry, we'd have minimal crew. That'd be 12 people.
Yeah.
12 people on set.
Yeah.
It's very funny. And basically, this guy, he gives birth to what we call the eye child, which he named Skipper, which is in the show Darkplace, named after his dead son, which is half human, half grasshopper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never explained.
And a quote I really like from that bit is, I think it's when he's driving the eye child, like, somewhere? He was
guess
at the
home.
hospital, and then he's driving to the hospital again,
Yeah.
for some reason.
That's a good
But, like,
point.
what he says is, he's, like, talking about, like, the exposition and something like that, but after that he says, I guess we'll never know. So just to restate, that is something we'll never know. You're not going to find out later.
Which
Yeah, I love that.
is a reference to how was the guy able to give birth.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like we'll never know.
Canonically, Garth Marenghi has a wife and 4 daughters.
Yeah.
How?
I love the dialogue of him like talking about like this is really about my own desire to have a son, and then he's like, I do have 4 daughters, and while I don't blame them as such, I don't think they're on my side.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And he's sitting there being like, he's so sexist.
Yeah,
Like,
honestly.
It's just,
He doesn't
oh,
think he is because, to some extent, technically, he is trying to not be, but he's like, this is like he's not as bad as Dean Lerner, but he's still not good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not saying anything in his favor.
I also like that at the start of every episode because it has like the fake credits. And it says, based on the melodies originally whistled by Garth
Yeah.
Marenghi.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
to mention that. It was so good.
Yeah, one of my favorite bits in this episode, I don't know why, it just tickles me pink. When Sanchez is like, we got the lab results, he's a potential killer, and it's just like a printout of a piece of paper that says lab results, potential killer.
In like 72 font size.
Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah, and then there's another little bit where Dean, like, because obviously in real movies they like dub over in post like a little expositional
Yep.
line of dialogue, and Dean clearly does that for look, he's got a stick or something like
Look
that.
out, he's got a stick.
And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden he's got a stick that he's gonna beat people up with.
Because in the editing bay they went, hey Garth, we never explained why you have a stick, and the audience could be like, where'd they get a stick from? It's like, oh, I know, I'll get my friend at Dean Lerner, he will just do a line that says we have a stick, and I'll have a stick.
Yeah,
Problem solved.
I love that sort of shit.
Yeah, it's...
I'm sorry, dude. My dog is snoring very loudly right
You
now.
have
No,
not
baby.
heard.
Sweet dog baby.
Dog break. Look at your dog, audience.
Hashtag dog
Also,
break.
I feel like my mic's like peaking like pretty bad at some points. I am terribly sorry
I
editing.
think mine's alright. Mine's leveling out at like 18 to 12. Which
Nice.
I think I remember. Okay, peaking a little bit when I get louder. So
Yeah,
Sorry.
look,
Yeah.
that's... well, it's fine. Going back to dogs... The whole, because Skipper in the show was a child, but then it says in memory of Skipper, which is just a dog.
yeah, the dog
Yeah,
killed by
just a dog.
wasps.
Killed by wasps, and you're like, what the hell? It's great, but yeah, no. When
So,
he's protecting the eye child the entire episode, and then he's like, oh, come on, I'll spend my final moments, and he beats, and like, the eye child bites him, and he just beats the shit out of him.
The way he
It like throws it around for way too long.
absolutely beats the shit out of it. Just full like blood
Oh my
everywhere.
God. The cheaply done blood and gore is so good
I
as
love
well.
Yeah,
I love it. It's my favorite
I-
type of gore.
yeah. The
80s
cheap,
Yeah.
I like the cheap
80s
stuff.
gore.
80s
Yeah.
gore is the gore I can actually sit and watch and go like, wow, that these are really impressive in like the context of the thing, or be like, wow, it's really spooky and like Nightmare on Elm Street. It sucks now. It's too realistic. It makes me feel
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. That's because I'm a little
same.
bitch boy, you know. And
Yeah.
I don't like. I used to be really good with horror when I was younger, but now I can't do it. But yeah, I don't know. It's I love how Dean is like, I'll let you stay here and process it, and then he comes back in. He's like, I've just been told they want you to move. They need to bleach the sink.
That's one of my favorite lines from him.
I love
It's
that. It's
so
so
funny.
good.
It's so good. Oh, I love how, as well, during one of the interview segments, he's getting criticized for his acting, and what he says is, I haven't acted since. Someone said I didn't act during, but those would be unkind people. I did
Yeah,
my
oh
best.
my god, I was gonna say that's my favorite line in the whole movie because not the movie, the series, because he's joking about it. He's like, someone say I didn't act during, and he's like, but those would be very unkind people. I did my best.
It's just so genuine about
It's so
it.
like genuine hurt, and I mean it's very funny because it's very funny. No, Thornton Reed is a very funny acting performance because he's not just one note, right? Like he can act like more kind, but he's just also doing a shit job of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can tell, like, it's like, if you actually went into acting and did a bunch of stuff, you could do pretty alright, but no.
He's clearly trying,
Yeah.
you know? Which just makes it so much more funny that he's doing just an awful job.
Like, you can
Yeah.
hear sometimes, especially in this episode, you can hear, like, oh, he's actually trying to do his best job at this.
Yeah. He's trying his darndest. He's just, he's not an actor. I said to Garth, I'm not an actor.
Yeah, that was mentioned in like the first episode. It was
yeah.
so good.
It's like because he genuinely believes in the project. He's like, this is going to be great, like this is the best. I'm not an actor, but I will do my best.
Yeah, and then it's just he's like, here is Thornton Reed giving not an act but the truth, and then it's just the worst performance ever.
It's just blank stare
Oh,
directly into the camera.
But she croaks. My ass is grass.
The way he like gently slams one of the tables.
Yeah.
The gentle
he's so
slam.
nervous about it.
Yeah, he looks at the camera so often.
Oh, it's so
like,
oh my god!
I could spend so much time talking about Thornton Reed. And
he's my favorite character for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Richard Ayoade's always fucking.
Oh, he's great.
He's so good.
Amazing.
So Richard Ayoade's he's great because he's just amazing and he's very fun and he's really good. I own 2 books of his. One's technically his because he's like I still had the license to make a second book, but I didn't know what to do, so I just gave it to someone else.
Right.
And it's an interesting book that talks about like it's like filmmaking in an interesting way. And there's another book he did called Arawadi on Top, which is him kind of retelling, but also talking about like a Gwyneth Paltrow movie. That's it. That's the book. And I'm like, what? I own the book and I do want to read it, but I might just get the audio copy of it because I'm better at listening to books. But it's just an insane premise for a book where it's like, yeah, I'm going to talk about this movie.
Yeah,
and I read it's so it's like it's not like he's like, this is the character we're introduced to her in this scene, which implies this, and it talks about this and that, and it's not a good movie. He says it up front. He's like, yeah, it's not a great movie, but I want to talk about it. Here's a book.
Yeah, and like he's directed movies.
Oh yeah.
He's directed like Submarine.
No,
and I haven't seen it. People say it's good, but like. Even in any interviews of just Richard Ayoade, or he's in so many like Channel 4, like he's on 9 out of 10 Cats does Countdown and stuff like that.
My
and
favorite
he's always
thing
playing
is
a character.
The big VAT quiz at the end of the year or whatever.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing he does.
He's still always playing a character whenever he's on camera, which I think is so funny.
It's really good.
And like he does Gadget Man and stuff like that, and he's carved out such a niche for himself, and it's funny to look at this him playing Dean Lerner because it's so different from like all the other characters he usually does, like Moss from the IT Crowd and stuff.
Yeah, because most of the characters tend to be very awkward. I saw a clip recently of what's his name? He's a very awkward British comedian. He's very funny. What's his name?
Oh, what's he in?
He's at a Netflix. He's on like a Netflix thing.
James Acaster.
James Acaster. It was him and James Acaster in like a clip, and they'll act like they were doing like a bit, and basically someone's like, "This is just an awkward off as to who was the most awkward comedian." And it was really
James
good.
So
they're both very good, and it's really Should we move on to episode 4? Now that we're almost an hour into this recording.
Sure.
Yeah.
Episode 4, the Apes of Wrath.
There's just so many little gags that I just want to point out, and it's like, no, we're already taking long enough already.
I punched one of the child actors on set because they called
writing
bad.
Yeah, someone took a photo. Yeah.
Okay. I know writers who use subtext. They're all cowards.
Which is where all the lines of like, that's why I'm in a car now, or like it's so funny.
It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, also, the fucking dream sequence.
The dream sequence, it's so good. I turned one
forward.
way, then the other, then back,
and it was
then
me
forward.
as an ape.
Then I saw myself as a monkey.
Yeah. Plus, I think what's really funny is the way... Because obviously this is the episode where they talk about Madeline Wool being missing.
Yeah.
And stuff.
My God.
And they're like, we'll never find an animal actor like her again. And it's like, looking at her performance, she does, at least compared to the rest of the fucking acting in the film, she does like a good job of acting like an ape. You know, like she does like a really good job of
when
doing
you
all
watch
the
it, like that's
mannerisms.
actually a really good performance for this.
Like it's actually quite good, you know. Like and I was surprised about that. And I thought it was really funny that they like mentioned it. And also, of course, if you're talking about the movie, I keep saying the movie. If you're talking about this episode, you have
This
to
is a
mention
movie
the fucking
now.
the makeup, the ape makeup.
Oh, the special effects makeup.
So,
Yeah.
so basically, this stuff is from. It just looks like the original Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, even worse.
Yeah, just
Yep.
worse. It's like a
like-
costume shop equivalent of Planet of
Yeah.
the Apes.
And I love
He-
like it's clearly like a latex like mask face add-on, and they
Oh,
don't put
yeah.
any other makeup on their face.
Nope.
Like
They
they,
just
don't
glued it right
blend
on.
it or anything. They just glue on this like latex face mask, and that's it.
No, and it's very good. There's also stuff
d-
like.
I just love how Garth, at like the very beginning of it, says, I think it's something along the lines of, without thinking about it too hard, think Planet of the Apes when he's like, talking about
Yeah.
the plot of this one.
Yeah, I mean the other thing that I'll point out about this the makeup that I really enjoyed was obviously the ape at the end, terrible costume, but my favorite thing is especially when he's like knocked over, you can see his shoes like just wearing sneakers, just wearing black sneakers, and
Oh,
like
yeah, that's right.
that's it. And obviously I quite enjoy that the ape man just because Noel Fielding, and I really like Noel Fielding.
Oh, was it
as
Noel
an actor.
Fielding?
Yeah. As Noel, it's the only time he's in that that show.
Yeah, Noel
Um,
Fielding's great.
Yeah, and, like he does all the little sounds that he's known for, and the fucking them on the bikes, but there's motorcycle
The
noises.
bikes.
Oh my god! So there's a
it's
chase.
so
there's a
good.
chase. So basically, the episode is it's just like this green liquid water which turns people into monkeys because and they explain it later on. But there's they and it's turning everyone into monkeys, and then Garth gets knocked out and he wakes up, and the only two people who haven't been turned is Thornton and Rick Douglas, which is Garth because I keep saying Garth. It's like and he's been knocked out for a month.
Yeah,
And
which
it's-
is a really long time.
And it has now become like Hospital of the Apes,
Yeah.
Yep.
and it's very funny, and basically, Rick Douglas, he goes out, he's trying to find what's going on, he's trying and he finds the monkey, and then a chase scene pursues, and they go out of the building.
Can I
hop
point
on
out like a little
bikes.
detail?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is something I didn't even notice until I was looking through the comments of the video because these are just up on YouTube. So like he specifically states that he only has 5 bullets left in his gun because he used one earlier on. They specifically note that, and they make it a point to just completely blow it by 1 bullet because at the very last bullet he uses it just to shoot a bunch of boxes of bottles to make them fall on the ape man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very.
I
funny.
love that. Again, it's the little details.
But yeah, so they got the chase
So many
scene and,
small
and
details.
they're on like the little like the push bikes, and there's motorbike noises and the footage is sped up,
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
so funny.
it's so clear how close Garth is to the person in the monkey suit in some of the
Oh,
shots.
yeah.
Like he's really close up. It's supposed to be a chase scene.
There's what I think. There's a little. I think this is only really visible in one shot. But you can see like the face of Rick Douglas running after this monkey. Clearly a different person. It's clearly a stunt actor.
It's
Yeah,
it's
that's
so funny. It's so
and it
funny.
only happens like one time.
It's the only
like,
time
all
of
the
the
other times
entire
it's him.
show. Yeah, and they just have a guy in a wig, and it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and the fucking ape man. I'm pretty sure he's just like he's like saying gibberish, but he's also just going like yelling.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's just what Noel Fielding does. He just always makes those noises, which I think is so funny.
It's, I'm just reading out some of these quotes. There's like the line. There's the scene where Dean has a sip of the green.
He only has a
water,
tiny sip.
and that means he's
Just a
fine.
tiny sip.
And he's like, what if we? and then like Garth, like Dr. Rick Douglas is like, he's like, wait a minute. And he's thinking about all the water clips from the episode, like all the things like I'm gonna have a glass of water. I haven't had a time for a glass of water. Like all that stuff. And then he goes, I still haven't had my glass of water. Wait a minute.
Where's the water?
And it's the funniest thing because it's again very good acting on the facial expressions because he's like, yes, I could have a glass of water. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, and it's another example of how like they perfectly parody like the over-explanatory writers because we know from the fucking first shot
the neon green water.
The neon green water, but the characters take so fucking long to realize it.
And it turns out the water is piss.
He doesn't work out. He doesn't work in subtext. Yeah.
It's very well done, and I love it. It's great.
It's a pretty classic.
The only other
episode.
Real note I have for this episode is just the fact that like Sanchez as a monkey can still do surgery, but Liz is just a monkey.
Exactly.
Sanchez is fine. He just smells bad now.
The sexism.
And then he's like all of a sudden he has monkey hands where he didn't have before. And he's like, damn, monkey hands.
Because it comes out of the surgery after killing a person trying to do surgery.
This is another one where he's trying to pretend like there's like this big thematic idea of like he's like rebelling. Like they wouldn't show this episode because it's so radical.
Oh, he makes like, such a huge point about
he's
it.
So
as
full
well.
of himself. And it's like, what if the government continues to pay doctors peanuts? Will they turn into monkeys?
Oh my god.
And it's like there's no social commentary. There's nothing. It's just a really weird story, but like. He's put in his own meaning. Oh, also, can't talk about this episode without talking about... Number one, they go into the mirror and water storage closet. And then number two, you can just see in one of the mirrors just an entire camera person, which... so funny.
That's very...
I didn't even notice that.
I didn't notice there were mirrors in there at all. That's the funny thing.
Oh, yeah. Like, when he goes
God.
it says, like, mirror and water storage closet. And then he's, like, walking through and there's a shot of him in the mirror. And then there's just the full camera person. Although it looks like a dummy camera person for some reason, which is just extra funny.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, it's. I think I only noticed it like on my second viewing. And I was like, wait a second.
That's great.
Yeah, again, set design astounding, amazing,
it's really
perfect.
It's really good.
Just the water bottles. Just sticky taped an image of a water bottle to all the boxes.
Water, it's great. The last note I really have is at the end when they all turn around and it's very clear they didn't have time. They forgot to shoot the explanation scene on how the monkey stuff happened. So it's sped up dialogue over stock footage of a plant. And like,
oh my god! Oh, it is, yeah.
And it's just like, so how did this happen in the first place? Well, you see, there's a particular scientist guy, and like, it's so funny.
My favorite bit is
good.
they have a close up of the plant that's in the corner of the office, and then they switch to the speaker, and then they switch back to the plant. Like it makes a difference. And it's like, you can't even hear what the fucking explanation is because it's sped up. At some point he said he like ran the DNA from monkey's balls through the balls of a chimpanzee or something like that. And he created a new formula for making apes.
It's so nonsense and it's funny. And they do
Yeah,
that classic,
so
they make a funny joke about someone going bananas and they'll have a good laugh.
They're like, if you make another more crack about me taking a shit in Rick's car, and then they're like, don't go ape, and then they just laugh. Oh.
Yeah, it's...
I just love the extremely heavy implication that Dean has most likely killed Madeline.
Yeah.
There's like lines like, body wouldn't be found, but she could be buried here.
Yeah, she's like, she's in the Western Bloc, that's just my hunch. And she's like, they're like, oh, so you think she's alive? Like, no, she's probably just buried there. If she got buried at all.
And you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny when you look at the character of Dean Lerner, because if you watch Man to Man, there's another bit where, like, he has an ex-racing star that used to be on the Dean team of his, like, racing team, and it's just like blatantly obvious that after he left the team, he cut the brake lines of his car and he crashed and like almost died. And then he's like, "I told you, if you leave this team, you'll heavily regret it." And what happened next? You got in a car accident. Very tragic.
It's
Yeah.
like Dean Lerner is such a like it's really like because like some of it like it's a fun character, but you but like he's kind of scary.
He's so
Yeah.
skeezy.
He's so oh god.
I mean, even in the next episode, he's like,
The-
we learned that the mist was poisonous after 2 techies died.
If someone had to die, it should have
Yeah,
been.
that's right.
It's like if someone had to die, should have been the tech.
It may as well have been the techies.
Yeah, like what's the difference? Like one dies, you get the next one in the same uniform, same tool belt.
Yeah, can't even tell a difference. Yeah. Or that the next episode is also where he's like, we filmed it all in my garage. I have a big garage.
Yeah.
It's hard to film a TV show in a garage.
So we might as well just go on to the next episode unless we have anything else to say. So
Next episode is my personal favorite episode.
Scotch Mist.
Yeah.
Scotch
Episode
Mist.
5.
I remember when I first read the title, I was like, "Oh, please let it be an episode about Scottish people," and I was not disappointed.
So this
Yeah,
was fun
exactly.
because this is another episode where Garth Marenghi's like they wouldn't let us air it. You know, it's too much. It's about prejudice.
It's about prejudice.
And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, and then it's about Scottish people. Like that's like what the prejudice
It's about
is.
specifically
No.
ancient Scottish
Yeah.
warriors in the
Yeah.
mist.
And they're pissed off because Rick Douglas once had a layover and where he was forced to stay in Scotland for one night.
It was like Glasgow,
and he had a bad
yeah.
time. And he said
In
some really
Glasgow.
racist stuff about
Yeah.
Scottish people, and now he's being tracked by ancient Highlanders. The fucking not to skip ahead, but the way that the Highlanders speaking just in a Scottish accent have subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as if they're just speaking another language. Just like they're clearly just speaking with a Scottish
And you
accent.
can understand them very easily.
Yeah, it's very obvious.
But it's one of those things you're like, Garth think he's being clever, but he's still being like the most prejudiced.
Yeah, I mean, what's he say? He says, sometimes you have to be a bigot in order to take down bigger bigots. I'm like, sure.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah, that episode is so funny in the fact that he's like, it's about prejudice, okay? And that being a bad thing. But he's just fully racist through the whole episode. Just 100%. And, like, he doesn't even change very much. He, like, kind of
Nope.
half-heartedly apologizes to them. And then
He
they
gives
are
them
like,
Scotch
okay.
fingers,
Yeah, he gives them the Scotch fingers.
which is a surefire way to befriend
Yeah.
a Scottish person.
And he plays the
It's
bagpipe. He plays the bagpipes at the end. The fact that like
he played the
he's
saxophone
just-
at the start of the episode.
yeah, he's
Oh,
always just like he always can just play like any instrument, you know.
It's so good.
It's really funny.
Uh,
I love the line from Todd where he's like explaining how people were upset with the episode, and at some point he says like, I'll play anything. I'll play a Nazi. I won't
Yeah.
kiss another man though.
I wouldn't kiss another man, which is very funny.
It's like not even for the big boys, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Okay, so you'll play a Nazi, but okay. Yeah,
And like Nazi is the only thing he lists as well.
yeah, exactly.
Nothing else.
That's because what's worse than that?
Yeah, and the other thing he says is like, people says it's a quite racist episode, but I don't think it's that racist. And it like cuts to him being like, I hate all Scottish people; they all suck.
Yep.
I love there's a line, and I love it because within the because Sanchez is like, my aunt lives in Scotland. She says it's quite nice. Well, she's wrong, and it's very funny.
It's
Very
very funny.
good.
Like
So
whenever
good.
lines like that are like written in, I always like I can't help but imagine like Garth writing them and someone being like, "Why don't you take that out?" And it's like, "Well, no, you have to include it," and then he makes up some stupid reason to why it has to be included.
Mm-hmm.
There's another line which I love because I love this episode's like way they treat Sanchez. It's great because Sanchez is just a guy. It's like I couldn't use my rechargeable batteries. I was up I was up playing the keyboard until 2.
Yeah, the fucking the way that they him and Liz have like a massive conversation about fucking batteries and if you
Oh my
buy
God.
cheap
Duracell.
batteries, yeah.
Like don't get shitty cheap batteries, get Duracell instead.
Yeah, exactly. This also has like one of my favorite acting bits from Dean Lerner, which is when like the mist is coming in, and there's like a tracking shot, and we're seeing what everyone's doing, and we go into Dean's room, and he's like written
yeah,
on a
that's
post-it note or something, and then he like doesn't know what to do with his hands, and he like looks at the camera and then just sits there stoically. Oh,
He
it's
doesn't
so
know
funny.
like what to do afterwards. He's
Like, he's got no
perfectly
direction.
still, shaking his hands.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny.
It's really good. And there's like also a line which is called misunderstanding, which I'm like, that's a fun line. It's a good one.
Or when he in the car, he thinks of the line that's like, I haven't the foggiest idea, and then he says that to Rick, and he's like, I thought of that in the car.
Is Garth wearing cowboy boots in this episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Because
noticed
I'm
that.
pretty sure he's wearing cowboy boots.
Because at the end,
Why?
he's dressed.
He's wearing a kilt.
Yeah, he's wearing a kilt, and
And, like,
he's got the bagpipes because
because they took his pants.
And he's ginger now as well.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
it's just ginger.
and it's very funny because like because he's accepted as a Highlander for like giving him Scotch fingers and saying sorry, and so he's wearing this till the end of for the rest of the episode, and it's. Yeah, he really does look like he's wearing cowboy boots if they just are cowboy boots.
I'm pretty sure
I
they
think
just
they
are.
They
I'm
look
looking at
like
it right now. Yeah, they're fully cowboy boots.
My
Yeah,
God.
and the effect of like having the tartan print on all their faces when they get got by the mist. It
Oh
looks
my
so
God,
fucking
yeah.
awful. So awful.
So bad.
It's so funny to think like you just watch like any scene with the mist being like that killed two techies, like
Yeah.
so much like life lost for something so shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, like, Madeline just has a knuckle buster.
Yeah, she's like, it was my
like when they're
grandmother's.
handing Garth things to go out and like confront the Highlanders, she just hands him a knuckle buster.
Yeah, I like how he doesn't use any of the weapons.
He doesn't use any of
He's-
them.
he
Just
just uses
gives them
scotch.
shortbread.
Yeah. And Dean is like, something that may come in handy.
Oh, man.
I wanted to see like a behind the scenes like explanation of like the Highlander and being like those actors weren't actually Scottish or like have some tidbit about them. I
Yeah.
would've liked
Oh my
that.
god.
Which you might get
Or,
from
like,
the
they
2-hour
was-
commentary from the characters.
I should. Cause I wanted like if I would want to know if they were like in the world of the universe, if they were like actually Scottish people, and they were like, well, those actors they were really upset when this episode was made, or like something like that. Because I find it so funny that they just gotten 3 people who are ginger with long hair and have a scraggly beard. And they're like, that's what all Scottish Highlanders look like. That's what all
Yep.
ancient Scottish warriors look like.
It's very funny.
Very good. I'll say one last thing about Scotch Mist is that I think it's good because obviously movies, any TV show from the 80s is going to be super racist and also super like sexist. But I think it's good that when they were spoofing the racism in the show, they didn't do like a minority or anything, because that would have
Yeah.
been. I'm glad they chose the right people, because obviously there's a lot of history as well, of conflict and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a good way to
Yeah.
tackle it, I think.
And it's exactly what Garth would think about too.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
But episode 6, the creeping moss from the shores of
Shoggoth.
I have 2 notes for this entire episode. Because
Most of my notes are just quotes.
that's fair. I do not have much to say about this one, except for the I'm a one-track lover.
Oh my god, yes.
There's just a music video in the middle of it, and I thought it was I thought like in like the interview segments how to explain it. Nah.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, there's one other musical number, which is
Yeah, during the iChild
The
episode.
iChild,
Yeah.
but this is full like music.
This feels
video
explicitly
fantasy.
like Todd Rivers was trying to do a music career at the same time. And so it's
Yeah.
like, hey guys, could I
Yeah, exactly.
be able
It's like,
to
well, we need to
do-"
pad out the time.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. He's like, hey guys, could I be able to, like, if I'm doing my music career, you know, like how Garth is supporting his books, could I support my music? And I'm like, well, we have time.
Yeah, and the fucking Thornton's rap.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
so
it's so good.
It's so funny. Yeah, One Track Lover is a banger. Should be on everyone's horror, well, everyone's lovemaking playlist. Put it on.
Yes.
Um,
Which reminds me of like the interview segment where Garth and Dean are like criticizing books that have sex scenes that just use the same vocabulary over and over
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
they list off even worse words for
that mysterious mound or whatever.
her mossy mound, I think.
Yeah, something really
It's
gross.
just so gross.
Yeah, it's
Can I just point out the fact that
Um,
the actual actor, Matt Berry, is on Spotify with actual music he's released in 2011, 2021, 2020. Like, what?
Wow.
That's
Wow.
cool.
One
I don't know.
track
I don't know what the type of music is. The one's called Night Terrors, which is cool. Like yeah, because he released an album in 2011. Like, it's the fourth. Like I was just seeing if I could find One Track Lover on Spotify, but I just got like,
imagine.
Matt Berry's. Like, I found a song with the name, but I don't think it's the song.
Yeah.
But, oh man, it's so that's just a neat little fact about Matt Berry.
Yeah, this is a fun fact. I'm looking through as I've been talking. I've been like scrubbing through the episodes. It reminded me of like my favorite bit that they do like twice is that when someone upsets Liz, they like cut back to her and she's immediately like full face of makeup, like dripping,
like,
Crying.
mascara
Just
everywhere,
crying, weeping.
instantly.
So good.
And then the first time, I think it's in maybe like I think it's episode 3, and Sanchez is just like, "Come on, Liz, I'll help you apply some more makeup."
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh my god.
Very
Speaking of
cool.
recurring gags, one of the ones I just remembered from looking through my notes, the guy with the sideburns, you remember
Yes.
him? Yes, the way he always enters stage by like taking one long stride in,
Yeah.
so that he can take an order. But then after like he's told to go somewhere, he never goes where he's supposed to. And then in
even
this
notice that.
episode, he's a waiter, and you can see him like looking directly at the camera. He strides backwards. The camera pans over to the left, and then he strides in as the bartender of the area.
That's really funny. I didn't even notice that.
That's great.
I fucking love sideburns too.
Great. He's one of my favorite side characters in it.
Yeah. What I noticed about this episode is they have the fucking employee lounge or whatever, and then it's like it looks like they're at a restaurant or like something, and then Dean comes in
Yeah.
and he's like, "This is a hospital." And I'm like, "No, it's not. That's clearly a bar or something."
And then he fires a gun after he says, "This is a hospital."
Yeah. Dean
Yeah,
his
it's-
shotgun.
It's great. It's just
And then you have the scene where they're like, unfortunately, this fight scene was lost. In a regrettable incident that was neither I regret both personally and professionally. And there's just a bunch of still images.
that was
bunch of
shot.
Polaroid
That was
shots.
from their like one of them's at the time girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Dean's at the time girlfriend.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's
And they're all just Polaroids.
because the scene of because the basic premise is that Sanchez has fallen in love with a person who is turning into broccoli.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
the plot of the episode, by
That's
the
the
way.
plot of the episode,
Yeah.
and so that the fight scene is because Sanchez and the broccoli woman they had sex. Because of that, he's now been infected, and so they have.
I would like to point out that she's a broccoli specifically because they state that it's a spore, and you
Yeah.
know spores they go through the air. You can just catch them incredibly easily, but he specifically gets it on his dick,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's it.
and they had to chop off his dick. And my favorite bit is then, like, they're talking about that, and then Garth in the interview was just like, the broccoli is the metaphor for AIDS.
Oh yeah, I was like, Jesus Christ.
And then right at the end, right at the very end, with him on the rooftop, he's said something about like, this would be awful, just as bad as AIDS, or something like that. Like, just to like rub it in just a little bit.
It's also like stuff like Dean Leonard being like, yeah, I had a cousin who had AIDS. And it's like a bit of a sad story. It's like, and then Freddie died too. And you're just like, what is this?
Yeah, it's like the one like emotional part in the show ever. He's just like, yeah, like my cousin had AIDS and died. Or like the only other time that happens is when they're talking about Madeline dying, probably. And then Garth is like, I heard her when I was writing, and she was like, Garth, that sentence needs a verb.
Which is such a like.
And she was right. And then she said, that's inelegant. And then very quietly she left. Oh, and then like those are the only two like emotional moments in the whole show, and they're still like fucking stupid as hell.
And like, I think Garth, when he said that, was well intentioned, but missed the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I get what you're trying to do, but it's weird.
Yeah. That
Very
sentence needs a verb.
It's like, you were so close.
And like you can tell that for him, like it was a very spiritual experience, you know, like meeting the. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, I just remembered. I'm looking through it. I remember that they're gonna steam her. The only way to stop it
that's
is steaming
right.
her.
Oh god, I have the quote in here somewhere. Where is it? It's like, I fear that the only way to stop the spreading is to boil her. You could steam her.
Yeah.
It's just. It's like that's the only solution.
God,
Yeah, it's so funny.
It is.
Also, like, sorry, I'm like,
Yeah, that's okay.
I just saw a note here. I'm pretty sure like that scene where Garth is with the priest dude. I'm pretty sure at one point he's meant to be like crying into his shoulder or something, but he's more just moaning. He's like,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
No, it's. But yeah, that's pretty much Garth Marenghi's Darkplace.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very funny show.
A little show from 2004. I think it's 2004.
Let me Google
I'm
it.
pretty sure it's 2004.
Yeah, like, that makes sense, but it also could just be.
Also at like
2004.
the near end with Garth saying,
2004.
with the show, I wanted to make people laugh and cry and shit
Yeah.
themselves at the same time. Beautiful.
Definitely made people laugh. That's,
Yeah, absolutely.
achieved one goal of the show.
I mean, I honestly, I don't know why. Well, actually, I do, because a lot of those sorts of comedies are sort of underrated. The biggest one that like British comedy, Channel 4 comedy that I can think of is the IT Crowd, which hilarious funny show. But I think in like the tier order of like obscure shows, it would be obscure funny Channel 4 British comedies would be IT Crowd, and then The Mighty Boosh, which is very similar to this show, also very funny, and then Garth Marenghi's Darkplace, and then probably Man to Man with Dean Leonard, which is just like in my mind like it's just the cinematic universe of fucking Garth Marenghi, you know. And I think this one is so special because it's not even a spoof of like a bad show from the 80s. It's like a spoof of the people who made a bad show of the 80s as well. You know?
It's such an interesting take, and you never see anything like this. You never get any type of media that is making fun of the people making fun of the show, but also doing the show.
Yeah. Because it's like, a lot of the episodes are the actual episodes of the show, obviously. But then you have all like the director's commentary and like just making fun of My favorite thing is that like obviously Garth is full of himself, so every single person who does the interviews is like just telling about how good the show is. And like Todd Rivers comes on, he's like, I thought that the makeup would look really bad because it's from the 80s and stuff, but looking at it on camera, it looks quite realistic. Actually, it looks quite good. And no, it does not. It does not. It looks so fucking bad. Like there's a line where he's like, "I've managed to scrape together interviews from cast members who haven't died or offended me."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very. I think it's. I don't know if another show could ever be made like this. I think it's a product of its time, but it's also the product of another time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a very 80s feeling, but it's also very. It feels very like, underground to me. It feels very obscure and like cult cinema-y.
No, it does.
Oh, definitely.
Which is very, very funny. I think.
Like the reason I know of this show is because there's two people I follow who did video essays on. They both just talked about the show, and they're pretty much, it's not even like a video essay. It's like, here's what the show is. Go watch it. It's fun.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Like,
and the reason I know about it is because Conor told me about it because I was saying how much I like British comedy.
Yeah, it's if you like any British comedy, you have to watch Garth Marenghi. I was talking about, we've spent what is this? And I've been recording for an hour and a half at this point.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a
same.
half.
We spent an hour and a half mostly just like quoting parts from the show that we really like. And there's still so much shit we haven't even talked about. Like, there's so many jokes that you might think, we've listened this far. I know everything that happens that's funny in the show. Absolutely, you do not. We've probably mentioned 15% of the funny jokes.
We've picked out the ones that stand out to us the most, but there are so many jokes.
It never feels like it's too much either. It never feels like it's just like bombarding you with jokes. It always feels like just enough. Yeah, absolutely. A hilarious show. It does a really good job. I think this is a really good example of a show that's just for comedy's sake. Like, it's pure comedy. It's pure comedy is what it is. Just injecting it straight into your veins.
No, yeah, it's genuinely just... Like, I think you're right on that front, where it's just... Like, this is just for comedy. There's nothing else. That, like, there's a lot to it, but there's, like, it's not like, oh, we're here for the story. No, you're here to have a laugh at Garth Marenghi being an idiot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And making bad television. Yeah.
It's a very much a turn your brain off and just laugh kind of of affair. And I love that sort of stuff, because I spend all the rest of my time thinking about things. You never have to... Because a lot of shows from the 80s, or even... Especially from the 2000s, you watch it as you know, with your 2021 eyes, and you're like, oh, that was a bad joke, that was a problematic joke.
Yeah.
But because of the context of the show, there's a lot of them, but you're never like, oh, that's like a really bad joke. It's like you're making fun of the fact that joke is shit. You know, it's making fun of the fact that everyone here is super sexist.
And that is a difficult feat to do. It's difficult to do that, but they pulled it off really well.
Yeah. It's super hard to make fun. It's super hard to be a man and make fun of sexist men without just being a sexist man. The whole, just the way that the show is constructed, it just pulls it off so well. I don't know any other show that's been able to do that.
As Garth said, you got to be a bigot to take down the bigot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what helps really sell the show so well is that if it was just the show Darkplace, I definitely would have brushed it off. It's just like, it's just a random parody. It's just being bad on purpose. Yeah. But the fact that it has the characters like Garth, Dean, and Madeline, and Todd, and all of this random behind the scenes stuff, it really helps sell that this is a bad show written by a terrible sexist narcissistic guy.
Yeah. It's like when you watch any of the new Sharknadoes, you're like, it's bad on purpose. And so if it was just Darkplace, you'd be like, this is so bad, it can't be real. But then you realize that within the context of the universe, it is really that bad. And everyone thinks they did a great job, you know?
And the interview segments also break up the show. I don't think I could actually sit through and watch 22 minutes of this without the interview segments that really help you understand jokes, explain things. Again, you need that context. You don't. There's no subtext in this show.
Yeah, exactly.
If they left things to subtext, you would be lost.
Yeah, there's no subtext, and I think even when the interviews are used, the amazing comedic timing, because they do a lot of them right after the intro. and so you have like this intense, like super epic looking intro, and then just cuts to him like explaining what's happening.
Yeah, and the fact that like the cuts are so abrupt as well.
Absolutely.
There's like there's nothing to help them smoothly transition. It's just like it's just like the worst possible timing.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, on about that note, at about, was it the hour 40? Hopefully it's shorter for the person who's listening. Or not. You can enjoy the content that I enjoy, which is 5-hour-long videos. Where can people find you on the internet?
I draw on a few social media platforms. I don't know, I mostly draw for like this channel quite a lot actually. Well, not a lot, but I've drawn enough that if you like look through it, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, I don't have much to promo. If you want fairy art, I guess I'm at BountyHunt01 on Twitter, or I have a Fair Affinity account. That's pretty much it. I don't really do much online other than sell my fairy art, which is very off brand for doing a Garth Marenghi review. But yeah, that's me, I guess.
Yeah, it's always good to have like a variety of guests. Like for one of the Ben 10 ones, we had like an author. For this, we have a fairy artist. You know, it's good. The range of people is nice.
Yeah, exactly.
As always, I used to promote my Twitter. I don't think I'm like, yeah, I don't tweet really. The only tweets I do recently are like, what was the Matrix 4 trailer? What is this movie? But yeah, I have a letterboxd, I guess. What else do I have? My Who Brought the Popcorn podcast I do with QT Hype. That's still going. What else? I think that's about it, because I just do the channel. So, yeah, I don't know how to end the videos. I just kind of trail off. Literally the last one ended with me saying, and I usually tend to just cut it about here, and it just cuts. It just stops. It just ends at like the cut, like halfway